and the wolf was God. A she-drum is the power of life and death, and all these things needed for living well and rightly. Women knew how to create every kind of vibrant life, and men knew how to guard and cultivate every precious thing. The women danced in the woods to the drumming of the men. How beautiful the women were, exuberant, soulful flesh, affirming all that is. How beautiful the men were, holding the heartbeat of all that lives. Drumbeats and bodies answered each other in passionate crescendos and singing songs. The people lived in freedom and in fierce loyalty. They nurtured and taught the children. They were happy. It came to pass that a host of splitters, axe-wielding world, gained dominion over all these three beings. They spread the word, called the dead, called the earth, and rich in murderous faith. The wolf people were forced to realize on faith, and as their nature was destroyed, devils sprang up everywhere, and death and revenge called their names. Dirty, rich, thieving, incompetent, sad, ugly, fat, stinky, stupid, worthless. The women and the men forgot how to love well, for they had forgotten how to love themselves. So now, we all must go back as far inside ourselves as we can, to retrieve all our knowings and all our lost language. What does the blood mean? What does the blood really mean? When we dance in the woods with it smeared on our body, what did it mean? What did it mean? Life force sounds like a myth. Our fathers told something that seeps out and trickles back into the earth when you die. Earth when you die. Today, I look forward engraved in my most ancient prayer. And I want to be so here. And I want to be awake and alert down to the shore of my soul. Every light switched on and focused ahead, converging my eyes and my belly and tongue to a single point. Then I recall exhausting ourselves in the heat, cooled by the moist blood of pigs. We breathed hard and inhaled the very old sweat of blood-milk flesh. We were worshiping life. Worshiping life. Worshiping life. The angel in the closet does not resemble the angels you see in men's pictures. She is not blonde, not young, no virgin. Her breasts are not firm, for she has fed children. This is not a good girl, a servant to anyone's desires, nor a trophy, nor a receptacle for someone else's ideals. She's dark as the Nile and wildish. She knows what you would keep hidden and speak her truth. She dances like a gypsy, or like a priestess, or like an artist, as she feels. She's a burning bush in the desert of her choosing, an ancient well of pure water, a sure-footed pathfinder, midwife and muse, amulet, oracle, the lamp in the mine shaft, joyful and determined, devoted. She was the most beautiful treasure I ever owned, until I cuffed and gagged her, clipped her wings, and stuffed her in the closet, as mothers and fathers and priests and lovers had done to her before. I wanted to resemble the angels you see in men's pictures to choose a man. I wanted to be that saint, that trophy, that unsuspecting virgin, that yes there, good girl and nurturer, that domesticated pet, that innocent pussy cat. The angel sat mute and grew sullen, for which I kicked her repeatedly in the shin. Without her, I got lost in a maze of docudramas. I grew ugly and stupid and fearful. I punished and grasped and languished. I lost everything and had to begin again. So I let her out again. Drink to my health, world, for I have my angel back with me. And if you would know a true angel from a female appendage, the answer is fine. But don't touch too much, she invites you. Don't come too near if you're afraid of fire. And don't even come into her room if you disapprove. There are three bridges that make connection between all that was and every possibility, between the sacred music and the vulgar antics of the planets. These are the essential metaphors that give everything meaning, the mystical moments in which all questions are answered, all paradoxes resolved. On such a bridge, loneliness is shattered by the trillion shining facets of the one. Great stories are bridges that connect the personal with the universal and the mundane with the mystery. These stories are great because they're true. because each of us has been there or must go there, because their landscapes and characters identify human experience the way a particular type of leaf identifies a tree. The stories are terrible and marvelous, just as we are. They explain how life hates and loves us, how we hate and love life, and they instruct us in the matter of courtship, how to court our deep self to come into love with us, how to court disaster so as to master it, how to court the forces of life and death into our waiting embrace, into the circle of our dreams. I know it's no excuse, but my sisters said I was married to a monster, and perhaps I was. There was a monster in my soul. I called him fear. He grew fat on mankind in the days of the ancestors. He's a serial killer. He makes slaves of women and children. He beat me and abandoned me when I was young and fertile. In my dreams, he breaks into my house and steals everything I own. He tried to rape me when I was 13. When I was 18, he loved and left me. At 22, he violated my body. By 25, he held my beliefs in his fist. He makes me feel ashamed when I'm in love. You won't be loved in return, he says. He'll despise you for loving him. They lead you down the garden path just far enough to avoid his pond, and when you kneel down to finally quench your thirst in the holy water of love eternally, and lead you to find yourself groveling where you thought you'd gone to pray and partake. My sister said I was married to a monster. Get rid of him, they said, when he's asleep and can't fight back. Why would he leave your side each night before the faintest light of dawn, if not to hide the hideous secret of his loveless soul? If he will not reveal himself, light your lamps to see by. The horror will lend strength to your arm, and that's to plunge the lamp. I did as I was told. I lit the lamp in the pitch of my solitude, my knuckles white around the blaze, and held aloft the flame. Stunned to behold a god, I shivered, letting fall the drop of oil that meant the end of sweetest dreams. For they were wrong. Your flesh is as tender as mine. I burned your beautiful shoulder. You flew away to howl in some secret place where the words I cannot speak anyway will never reach to soothe away the pain. My sisters said I was married to a monster, and now he's the husband who remains. I call him Fear.
Blood promised, and the barrier began to crumble. Yes, oh yes, I would give you anything. Take my darkest, bitterest moments, steal my unleavened breath, crush the pale white berries of my most subliminal fears. Oh, brave woman, lead me into the darkness, clutching your small, beating heart. Woman of power, strong woman, take this gift. Take this gift and go home.
When I said I didn't want him, and I wanted him so much my toes were tied to my shoulders. When he breathed I got oxygen. All my leaves turned green. And I was so afraid. When I said all the things that hurt me most, what I really meant was that I died 100 little deaths in his absence and was born in his embrace. That when he laughed or cried, my room turned orange and fuchsia and gold. He was all the softest furniture in my secret living room, the angel in the attic, the roots in the cellar. And I was so afraid, because if I said all these things, he would run away in fear, taking all the colors with him. So I stitched up my mouth, and little daggers sprang out from all my skins. When I said I wanted him to leave, I meant that if he left, all my seams would unravel. I would lose a kidney, my ankles would crumble. Black widow spiders would eat all the ladybugs in my garden. When I said it was perfect, that was a lie too. I meant I was so afraid it wouldn't be, so afraid that the soup was getting cold already, that one day he'd come home drunk and I wouldn't want to touch him. One day he'd come home sober and he wouldn't want to touch me. That the roses were wilting and if we pruned them they'd never grow back. That we were parked in a fancy cul-de-sac and behind it was nothing but the concrete wall of a freeway. That all our wild animals had been captured and were being transported to a zoo. That there was sandpaper underneath the pillows. That we had painted on glass and it could be wiped away with windows. When I said he was free to go or stay, I meant that everything I ever cared about most, everything that ever gave my soul a voice or felt like home or opened all my doors, had been taken away from me. So of course he would be too late. And I was so afraid that when he was, nothing precious would ever flutter into my hands again. And when I said it was over, I meant it. That he left a shadow on the sidewalk that I couldn't run away from, no matter how many corners I turned, no matter how many awnings I found for cover or storefronts seducing me to window shop or reflect. Every time I turned my back on it, it faced me, demanding that I sift through all the things I said or didn't say, and finally own up to my truths.
If I could write 1,000 poems to the crane light, picking feathers from her breath, using her pride secret to the humdrum end of feather cloth. Afterward, I would fold the letters given to our garden and make a wish. I would wish that you, delicate thing, would pick no more feathers from your gossamer breast, could find no strength to clack and clack the heavy loom, would you coat your slender white neck toward the deeper thump of a long soft horse. And I would give you a new migration to a warmer place, to shed a skin and squeeze your breast into a stingier, to a light humming on a hothouse flower, which only warms the hair of nature. We're born, we live, and then we die. She says we die, we survive it somehow, and then we're born. She can trip all the mines and fall off a cliff, suffer the angel to crush her skull, suffer the hawk to devour her soul, and live to flash her furious limbs. Her house is the triumph of comedy, a spent pelvis nurturing a chilled embryo. She's clear red wine flowing from an empty decanter, a sieve full of salt water, new forests growing from the sawed-off stuff of an ancient tree, warm love glowing from passion's debris. Whenever we cling to what's gone and what's done, or fear to begin what must next be begun, she quivers. Can you hear the rattling of her engine? They whisper inside my head. Let go the old clothing long outworn, the smoothness I wore in my life, the attachment that just wasn't meant to be, control that I had when I lived alone. Unfold your arms from off your heart, she teaches. Put your armor to tarnish and stretch forth your hands to receive my blessing. She loosens the clutch of my faithless hands and holds my shaking shoulders till the fear is gone and I'm empty. Empty as a sunlit living room awakens tenants. Empty as a ready hearth for the cauldron or a field turned for seed. Then this wisest mother, hungry lover, leads me to the precipice, rattling his secrets with every step, and we drift into free fall. When I let all my ideas fall away, what sweet arms of earth are there to catch me and keep me safe? I want to live like a heartbeat within her empty ribs, to dangle from the hinge of my hopes and let go and fall gently into what is. What is the sweetest now I ever lived. There was a run of little black ants in my bathroom yesterday. It's dry and hot outside. They had found a few drops of water on the floor near the tub. Though I had compassion for their thirst, I told them that inside the house is my territory and they're not welcome here, especially not in great numbers. Outside the house, they're free to insist as they please. I asked them to leave, assuming they would comply, and calmly left the bathroom. Tonight, they're gone. Tomorrow, I'll put out a dish of water for them, to reward their cooperation and to provide for their sustenance. Most people have no idea how easy it is to talk to ants, so when they find an ant in the house, they panic and begin spraying poison on their walls. They poison the ants, they poison the environment, they poison themselves. I communicated with ants several times before, but this time I learned a new lesson, for I noticed how simple a thing it is to communicate in wisdom and peace, to have wise and fair boundaries, be clear and firm about them within oneself, and state one's request clearly and calmly. If I could remember this in all my dealings with human creatures, I could go my ways in peace, without incurring any harm, without spraying any poison on myself or others or the world. I examined all my road maps to see how far I've come. Halfway through the path of this story, 3/4 of that. But this is the silly preoccupation of ego. For in any story I might summon, I'm undeniably in the same identifiable place. I'm in the underground forest, deeper and farther every day. Deeper and farther than I've ever journeyed before. Soon, I'll be invisible to almost everyone. There was never such a home, such a birthplace as this one. Do not breathe this delicate wildflower, rare, frayed at the lip by the thoughtless peach of marauders of sacred places who broke this one and ran, or broke this one and stayed
take more. It has put its little face in the cup of my hand, as if I am someone who can know and can be trusted. I have been learned to trust, and I've been in love. Those petals that fall at the first kiss of spring, those breezes, marauders that blow where they please, like fingers to velvet, they brush over grasses and tiny wildflowers, faces turned to the sun, are the flowers. How can you ask me to hold you like this? And I want your face here in the cup of my hand where it's safe. I have been in love, and I have been worthy of trust.
And should I have wished against him to shut every pore and portal, it would have been no riddle. For his breath rose up everywhere, like dust from beneath the hooves of galloping gypsy stone, and his invisible lips and fingertips brushed their searing kisses on my heart and spine and lungs. Whenever he released me to breathe again, my soul went soaring back to him as never my flesh would dare these days. So dear and sweet, the angels of earth, bringing bliss to cloistered spirits who cannot teach themselves not to love. We thus embraced all that night and all the next day long till midnight came again, and with a sigh of disbelief, settled myself to sleep, exhausted and at peace. Sweet peace. How many times have we loved this way? More, I think, than in a clumsier but still sweeter flesh, and will perhaps many more again, till we incubate to its fullness a more perfect love than what we knew before. And still my soul is overfilled. So I must tell you that this is the forming of a new continent amid soaring and crashing waves of salt water and sunlight. All the globes have changed. The countries have no borders. The rivers are cutting new channels in their desire to reach each other. This is the discovery of a nova, the antidote to plague. The prayer I didn't dare to pray, answered at last. Sweetness, traveling by messenger to every haven that lies along an off-road, blessedly unknown to the crowd, and opening doors that have been barred for 50 years, setting free all the broken pieces to heal and rejoice. Every day I thank the gods for sending you to me. I will never teach you for granted.
one. It may yet live.
Last week, I heard Peter, Paul, and Mary on TV. They sang songs I heard as a child. They sang, "And if you take my hand, my son, all will be well when the day is done." I wanted to hand down this song to my daughter. I tried to sing it to her along with that gentle trio, but I couldn't, because I was crying, just like the little boy in the song. The child self in me was crying because no one had ever taken her by that strong hand. When I was too young to speak, I buried her in a deep, dark cave to try to protect her from all the bombs and bayonets. I buried her alive, and no one indicted me for this crime. No one demanded restitution. No one even noticed. So I thought, it's not so great to have a child self always weeping in me while I go through life concerned with everyone else and pretending to have it all together. So I wrote this song. I wrote it to myself. I would also like to give it to you, but I can only do so if you listen with the ears of the child self. Bring out the child self to listen, and then please take your care.